This video is made possible because of your feedback in the comments and to all the journalists who captured his moments. Thank you everyone, and we hope you enjoy it. Let us start this video with praises from world leaders toward Lee Kuan Yew, then we will move on to his critics.
Hello everybody. I just want to welcome the Minister Mentor of Singapore. This is one of the legendary figures of Asia in the 20th and 21st centuries. He is somebody who helped to trigger the Asian economic miracle. Singapore has been an outstanding friend and ally of the United States for many, many years. And so I am very much looking forward to the opportunity to hearing from the Minister Mentor his views on the evolving situation in Asia as I prepare for my upcoming trip both to Singapore and to other key nations in the region. And so I'm very grateful that he took the time. Welcome. And on behalf of the American people, we want to say thank you to the people of Singapore for being such outstanding friends.
Thank you, Mr. President, for those very warm.
His critics.
What's your conflict with the Wall Street Journal?
A reporter wrote a story in 1988 or 89. A government that prides itself on its integrity was being accused of unloading in an IPO a dud company, which is completely untrue. So we said, please print this reply. They refused. And I said, in that case, we will restrict your circulation. You have done this to create controversy, then you will sell more papers to Singaporeans. So you'll sell more advertisements. Now, if you will remove your advertisement from your newspapers, we will not restrict you.
What did they say?
No, our papers and the advertisements go together. So we said then we restrict you to 500 copies.
But that's not the spirit of a free press.
Oh, no, that's not the spirit of a fair, open press that allows a counter-argument.
Are they going to cover what the then Prime Minister said?
They don't.
They don't. All right.
They always put a spin on it.
Yeah. Do you believe in a free press? Do you believe in the idea of a free press?
I believe in truth.
Truth.
Yeah.
That's different, isn't it?
And I don't believe that the press should be crusading and putting a spin on things.
Before we move on to more praise and critics, let us take you back way from the beginning. Chapter 1, where it all began. Lee Kuan Yew was born on September 16, 1923, in Singapore to a wealthy family of Chinese descent. His father, Lee Kuan, and mother, Chua Jim Neo, were from a prominent family. His father, Lee Kuan, was a wealthy businessman who ran a successful retail and trading company, while his mother, Chua Jim Neo, was a homemaker. Growing up in a privileged environment, Lee was exposed to a blend of Chinese traditions and British colonial influences, which shaped his worldview. Lee was the eldest of 5 children and grew up in a bilingual household where both English and Malay were spoken. This early exposure to languages also played a significant role in shaping his communication skills. Chapter 2. The Rise of a Young Visionary. Lee was a very bright student, showing an early aptitude for learning. He attended Raffles Institution, one of the top schools in Singapore, where he excelled in academics. His outstanding performance earned him a scholarship to study law at the prestigious University of Cambridge in England. Lee's time at Cambridge was transformative. He achieved a remarkable double first-class honors in law. At Cambridge, Lee was awarded the Fitzwilliams Whitlock Prize for being the top student in law and English literature. His academic excellence continued after graduation, as he was called to the English Bar, Middle Temple, in 1950. He graduated with top honors, which boosted his confidence and reinforced his belief in the importance of education and meritocracy. During this time studying law at Cambridge University, he was exposed to British political debates and socialist ideas, which influenced his thinking about government and social structures. Also, it was during this period, Lee met and married Geok Choo, who was also a brilliant law student. Choo was not only a supportive partner but also an intellectual equal. She shared Lee's passion for Singapore's future and played a crucial role in shaping his ideas and decisions. The couple's partnership was a cornerstone of Lee's personal and professional life, providing him with the support and encouragement needed to pursue his ambitions. Chapter 3. The queen behind the King Geok Choo was a remarkable woman whose brilliance often matched that of her famous husband. Choo's intellect was evident from her youth, as she topped the 1936 senior Cambridge examination in Singapore and Malaya. Her academic journey led her to Cambridge University, where she made history as the first Malayan woman to graduate with first-class honors in law. Despite her exceptional achievements, Kwa chose to work behind the scenes, becoming Lee's most trusted advisor and his closest companion. Her sharp mind was instrumental in drafting the People's Action Party's constitution and refining Lee's political speeches and memoirs. Known as Lee's Tower of Strength, Kwa's influence extended far beyond her public persona, earning her deep respect in legal and political circles. Their 63-year marriage, which ended with her passing in 2010, stands as a testament to a powerful partnership that not only withstood personal challenges but also played a crucial role in nation building, leaving an indelible mark on Singapore's history. Chapter 4, World War II. Character forged through hell. During World War II, Lee Kuan Yew's life took a dramatic turn as Singapore fell under Japanese occupation. At the age of 19, Lee narrowly escaped death during the Japanese occupation. He was among a group of Chinese men rounded up by Japanese soldiers for a potential massacre, but was fortunately released after a screening process. Lee experienced firsthand the brutality of war and the sudden shift in power dynamics. Demonstrating his adaptability and quick thinking, he learned Japanese and secured a job as a translator for the Japanese news agency, Hodobu. This position allowed him to navigate the dangerous wartime environment and gain valuable insights into the workings of power and governance. The occupation had a profound impact on Lee, shaping his views on leadership, self-reliance, and the importance of a strong, independent nation. He witnessed the fall of British colonial rule and the harsh realities of life under occupation, experiences that would later fuel his determination to build a resilient and self-sufficient Singapore. These wartime years were formative for Lee, instilling in him a deep understanding of geopolitics and the vulnerabilities of small nations, which would significantly influence his future political career and vision for Singapore. Chapter 5. The Calling. After completing his studies in England, Lee Kuan Yew returned to Singapore in 1950. He started his legal practice and quickly gained a reputation as a skilled and determined lawyer. However, his true passion lay in politics. Lee's legal background helped him understand the importance of the rule of law and governance, which later influenced his political career. He began to actively engage in political activities, advocating for workers' rights and social justice. Chapter 6. The Birth of the Party. Formation of the People's Action Party, PAP. The founding of the People's Action Party on November 21, 1954, marked a turning point in Singapore's history, with Lee Kuan Yew at its helm as the first Secretary General. This pivotal moment brought together a diverse group of English-educated professionals, journalists, teachers, and trade unionists, united in their vision for an independent Singapore. The PAP's lightning bolt symbol, set against a red background, became a powerful symbol of action and progress. In its early days, the party strategically allied with pro-communist groups to broaden its support base, while campaigning for independence through peaceful means. Lee's charismatic leadership and the party's focus on anti-colonialism, workers' rights, and social justice struck a chord with many Singaporeans. In the early days of Singapore's political awakening, Lee Kuan Yew and the People's Action Party faced a diverse array of opponents, each with their own conflicts. The political landscape was complex due to many conflicting ideologies and interests. Chapter 7. Internal Conflicts and External Forces. A leader tested. In the early years of Singapore's journey toward independence, Lee Kuan Yew and the People's Action Party found themselves in the middle of a political storm. They had big dreams for Singapore, but not everyone was on their side. At first, they had some support from pro-communist groups who believed in radical changes. However, as Lee and the PAP started to move away from those extreme ideas, these groups turned against them, seeing the PAP as a betrayal of their cause. As the PAP grew stronger, other political parties began to feel threatened. They didn't like how the PAP was becoming the dominant force in Singapore's politics. Some trade unionists who represented workers also felt let down. They thought the PAP was not doing enough to support workers' rights and their needs. Some groups felt that the PAP's policies favored certain ethnicities over others, leading to feelings of unfairness. Additionally, people who cared about civil liberties, like freedom of speech and the right to protest, were worried about the PAP's strong control over the government. They believed that the PAP was too strict and did not allow enough freedom for individuals to express their opinions. Even people outside of Singapore noticed these tensions. Foreign commentators and governments criticized the PAP's approach, calling it too authoritarian. Meanwhile, Some students and intellectuals disagreed with the PAP's policies on education and culture, believing they stifled creativity and independent thought. The year 1957 marked a turning point when left-wing members of the PAP, led by the charismatic Lim Chin Seong, challenged Lee's leadership. This internal struggle was like a family feud, with different factions fighting for control of the party's direction. The conflict reached a cracking point in 1961 when the left-wing group dramatically split from the PAP. Lim Chin Seong formed a new party called the Barisan Sosialis. And you won't believe what happened next.
One of many under suspicion was radical leader Lim Chin Seong. Giving a rare interview at his union headquarters, he confronted accusations.
I'm sick, to answer this question. This is not the first time I'm being asked the same question. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life to answer this question. I tell you categorically, I'm not a communist.
But in raids across the island, Lim, Fong, and more than 200 left-wing colleagues were arrested. They would not emerge from prison for another 3 years. Unchallenged in his party, Lee Kuan Yew could now prepare for the elections ahead. In July 1961, Lim Chin Seong led a mass defection from the PAP. Setting up the far-left Barisan Socialist Party, he campaigned passionately against merger. With the masses flocking to the new banner, the PAP faced total collapse.
We are quite confident if there is a general election, we can beat the government. Well, whether we beat the government, no, but I'm sure the government will be defeated. I'm quite confident today. We can wait for that.
The radical leftists stood a real chance of unseating Lee Kuan Yew from power. With elections imminent, 3 unlikely bedfellows were brought together by the fear of Singapore becoming a pro-communist enclave. The British colonial rulers, the anti-colonial Chinese Prime Minister, and the Malay leader suspicious of Chinese intentions. The Tunku reluctantly conceded that Singapore could merge with Malaya, but only when unfinished business with the leftists had been taken care of.
In January '63, Tunku decided that he wanted them locked up before he took over. He wanted the burden to be carried by the British. And I said, let's wait until after merger. Tunku says, no, we arrest them now, or there will be no merger.
A final showdown with the pro-communists was imminent.
We had this premonition that sooner or later we would all be detained. It was after 12 midnight. I was in Singapore's Norfolk Road. There was an intense knocking at the door. When I opened it, standing in front of me was my neighbor. He had come to arrest me. He apologized profusely, and I said it was all right. He was just carrying out his duties.
More than 100 left-wing radicals were arrested during Operation Cold Storm, and rioting broke out in protest. But Fong Swee Swan and Lim Chin Seong would remain in political cold storage for the rest of the decade. After attempting suicide, Lim was later sent into exile.
This period of political turbulence would shape the future of Singapore, testing Lee Kuan Yew's leadership and ultimately influencing the country's path to independence and beyond. Chapter 8: The Struggle for Independence. The road to independence was not easy. Lee and the PAP had to be clever. The final push for full independence came through a merger with Malaysia in 1963. However, this union was short-lived, and Singapore found itself unexpectedly independent in 1965. Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's leader, thought this merger would help his small country grow stronger and more secure. At first, many people were hopeful about the new country called Malaysia, but soon big problems started to appear. Singapore and Malaysia had different ideas about how to run the country. They argued about money and how to treat people of different races fairly. These disagreements led to angry protests and even some fighting in the streets. Lee Kuan Yew tried hard to make things work, but the problems kept getting worse. After only 2 years, it became clear that Singapore and Malaysia couldn't stay together. On August 9, 1965, Singapore suddenly became its own country. This separation came as a surprise to everyone, even Lee Kuan Yew. He famously broke down in tears during a televised press conference announcing the separation.
What has happened, and be firm, be calm. We are going to have a multiracial nation in Singapore. We will set the example. This is not a Malay nation, this is not a Chinese nation, this is not an Indian nation. Everybody will have his place, equal. Language, culture, religion.
Chapter 9. Independence achieved, and more struggle begins. When Singapore gained independence from Malaysia in 1965, the country faced immense challenges. It had no natural resources, a small population, and an economy dependent on trading with other countries. Lee Kuan Yew recognized the need to build a strong and sustainable economy. His first priority was to create jobs for Singaporeans. He launched industrialization efforts, attracting foreign investment and developing a skilled workforce. The Economic Development Board, EDB, was established to drive these efforts, successfully attracting multinational corporations, MNCs, to set up operations in Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew and his government had to quickly develop strategies for national survival. This led to the rapid development of Singapore's armed forces, as the country now had to provide for its own defense. Chapter 10. Economic Revolution and Redefining Singapore's future. Lee's ability to attract MNCs to Singapore was pivotal in transforming the economy. By 1970, over 100 MNCs had set up operations in Singapore, creating thousands of jobs and setting the stage for rapid economic growth. Lee Kuan Yew's economic plans were grounded in policies that work in practice, not in theory. He worked on expanding Singapore's economy by reducing its dependence on trade with other countries. The government promoted manufacturing, financial services, and later, technology sectors. By maintaining low taxes, reducing corruption, and ensuring political stability, Singapore became an attractive destination for investors. Singapore's economic growth was one of the fastest in the world during Lee's leadership. The country's GDP per capita grew from around $500 in 1965 to over $55,000 by 2015, making it one of the wealthiest nations globally. Chapter 11. A Home for All. Recognizing the need for affordable housing, Lee Kuan Yew implemented a comprehensive public housing program through the Housing and Development Board, HDB. The government built high-quality, affordable flats for the majority of Singaporeans. By the 1980s, over 80% of Singapore's population lived in HDB flats. This not only provided shelter, but also fostered a sense of community and ownership among citizens. Singapore's public housing program is considered one of the most successful in the world. The home ownership rate in Singapore is over 90%, one of the highest globally, thanks to Lee's policies. Chapter 12. Building Harmony and the Strength in Diversity. Lee Kuan Yew was very focused on keeping racial harmony in Singapore, a country with people from many different ethnic backgrounds. He created policies like the Ethnic Integration Policy, EIP, to make sure that public housing areas had a good mix of different ethnic groups. This helped prevent certain neighborhoods from being only one ethnicity, which promoted social unity. Lee also made bilingualism important, requiring all students in Singapore to learn English and their mother tongue. This policy helped build a strong national identity while keeping cultural traditions alive. Chapter 13. Nurturing Talents. Education was another cornerstone of Lee's leadership. He believed in creating a meritocratic society where individuals could succeed based on their abilities. The education system was designed to identify and nurture talent, with a strong emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, subjects. Scholarships were provided to top students, allowing them to study abroad and bring back knowledge and skills to benefit Singapore. Singapore consistently ranks among the top countries in global education assessments, such as the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, a testament to the effectiveness of Lee's education policies. Chapter 14. The Foundations of a Safe Society. Lee Kuan Yew's leadership style was often described as benevolent authoritarianism. He believed in the need for strict laws and harsh penalties to maintain social order and stability. Under his leadership, Singapore implemented strict laws against corruption, drug trafficking, and other serious crimes. The country developed a reputation for being one of the safest and least corrupt nations in the world. Singapore's Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau, CPIB, was established in 1952, even before independence. Under Lee's leadership, Singapore's Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau stands as a formidable guardian of integrity in the city-state's governance. Established in 1952 during British colonial rule, it's one of the world's oldest anti-corruption agencies, initially tasked with cleaning up the then-corrupt police force. When Lee Kuan Yew took the reins as Prime Minister in 1959, he transformed the CPIB into a powerful weapon against crimes, giving it teeth that could bite into corruption at any level of society. The Bureau's officers wield impressive authority, able to arrest suspects without warrants and conduct searches, all while operating under a veil of secrecy to protect their informants. Reporting directly to the Prime Minister's office, the CPIB fears no rank or position. Ministers and top civil servants are just as subject to its scrutiny as any other citizen. This no-nonsense approach, backed by Singapore's tough anti-corruption laws, has played a crucial role in sculpting the nation's reputation as one of the least corrupt countries globally. Beyond its role as corruption's nemesis, the CPIB also works tirelessly on prevention and education, striving to create a society where integrity is ingrained in every aspect of public life. However, critics have pointed out a few concerns about the CPIB. The CPIB is closely connected to the Prime Minister's office, which could lead to bias. Additionally, there's no independent watchdog overseeing the CPIB. The agency operates very secretly, making it hard for the public to know what's going on. Some people also think the CPIB might be softer on government-linked individuals, though there's not much proof to support this. Despite these criticisms, many countries admire the CPIB as a model for fighting corruption. The agency has successfully created a culture in Singapore where corruption is seen as a serious offense. This reputation has made Singapore one of the least corrupt nations in the world. As Singapore continues to grow, the CPIB faces new challenges. Corruption is becoming more complex and harder to detect, meaning the agency must adapt and evolve. They're also trying to balance their tough approach to corruption with concerns about civil liberties, ensuring they don't overstep their boundaries. In the end, the CPIB is like a strict teacher who's excellent at keeping the class in order. With no school principal, only the head of the school board is allowed to intervene. Some students might think they're a bit too strict. While the CPIB has undoubtedly made Singapore a more honest place, the ongoing debate about how it operates is an important part of a healthy democracy. Chapter 15: The Infrastructure That Propelled a Nation. Lee Kuan Yew understood that world-class infrastructure was essential for economic growth and improving the quality of life for Singaporeans. His government invested heavily in developing the island's infrastructure, including transportation, telecommunications, and public utilities. The Changi Airport, opened in 1981, became one of the world's best airports. Changi Airport has consistently been ranked as #1 airports, winning numerous awards for its efficiency, design, and passenger experience. Chapter 16: Urban Planning for Environmental Balance. Lee Kuan Yew was a pioneer in urban planning and environmental sustainability. He envisioned Singapore as a garden city, where greenery would be integrated into urban spaces. The government implemented extensive tree planting campaigns, and parks and nature reserves were developed across the island. Lee also prioritized the cleanliness of the city, enforcing strict laws against littering and pollution. Singapore's commitment to environmental sustainability is evident in its ranking as one of the greenest cities in the world. The city-state has over 50% green cover, with numerous parks, nature reserves, and vertical gardens integrated into urban developments. Chapter 17: A Healthier Future. Lee Kuan Yew's government also focused on providing quality healthcare and social welfare for Singaporeans. The healthcare system was designed to be efficient and affordable, with a mix of public and private providers. The Central Provident Fund, CPF, was established to ensure that citizens could save for retirement, healthcare, and housing. This mandatory savings scheme has been credited with providing financial security for Singaporeans in their old age. Singapore's healthcare system is ranked among the best in the world, known for its efficiency and high-quality care. The country has one of the highest life expectancies globally, with an average of over 84 years. Chapter 18: The Art of Foreign Affairs. Lee Kuan Yew was a skilled diplomat, adept at navigating the complexities of international relations. He established strong ties with major powers, including the United States, China, and Japan, while maintaining Singapore's independence and neutrality. Lee played a crucial role in the founding of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, in 1967, which aimed to promote regional stability and cooperation. Lee Kuan Yew was highly respected by global leaders, earning the nickname the Grand Master for his strategic thinking and diplomatic skills. He was a trusted advisor to many world leaders, including U.S. presidents and Chinese leaders. Chapter 19, Navigating the Economic Storm. Lee Kuan Yew's leadership was tested during economic crises, such as the 1973 oil crisis and the 1997 Asian financial crisis. In both instances, his government implemented swift and decisive measures to stabilize the economy. During the Asian financial crisis, Singapore's strong financial reserves and sound economic policies allowed it to weather the storm better than many of its neighbors. Singapore's financial reserves, managed by the Government of Singapore Investment Corporation, GIC, and Temasek Holdings, have grown significantly under Lee's leadership. These reserves have provided a buffer against economic shocks and are among the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. Chapter 20, Strategies for Political Stability. Lee Kuan Yew's People's Action Party maintained a firm grip on power throughout his leadership, winning every election with overwhelming majorities. Lee believed that political stability was crucial for economic growth and development. His government was known for its efficiency, with a strong emphasis on meritocracy and getting results. Lee Kuan Yew's political dominance was not without controversy. His government was criticized for its strict control over the media, limited political freedoms, and use of defamation lawsuits against political opponents. However, many Singaporeans credit his leadership with bringing prosperity and stability to the country. Chapter 21, Shaping the Knowledge Economy. Lee Kuan Yew recognized the importance of technology and innovation in driving economic growth. In the 1990s, his government launched initiatives to transform Singapore into a knowledge-based economy. The National Science and Technology Board, now known as the Agency for Science, Technology and Research, or A*STAR, was established to promote research and development. Singapore also invested in building a robust information and communications technology, ICT infrastructure, laying the foundation for the country's status as a global technology hub. Singapore is now one of the world's leading technology hubs, with a thriving startup ecosystem and strong presence of major tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple. The country's emphasis on innovation and R&D has contributed to its reputation as a leader in fields like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and fintech. Chapter 22, The Curtain Close, The Final Call. Lee Kuan Yew stepped down as Prime Minister in 1990 but remained an influential figure in Singaporean politics as Senior Minister and later as Minister Mentor. His legacy is deeply ingrained in Singapore's identity and development. Under his leadership, Singapore transformed from a third-world country into a first-world nation, known for its economic success, efficient governance, and high quality of life. Lee Kuan Yew's legacy extends beyond Singapore's borders. His leadership model, often referred to as the Singapore model, has been studied and emulated by other countries seeking to achieve rapid development and economic success. Lee Kuan Yew's leadership transformed Singapore from a struggling port city into a global economic powerhouse. By implementing strategic policies, such as attracting foreign investments and developing world-class infrastructure, he drove Singapore's GDP from just $1 billion in 1960 to over $300 billion by the time he stepped down. His focus on education and innovation fostered a highly skilled workforce, turning Singapore into one of the world's wealthiest nations, with a GDP per capita exceeding $60,000 today. Singapore's rapid rise was so remarkable that it's often referred to as an economic miracle. The country also became a major global financial hub, with the Singapore Exchange ranking among the top in the world. Lee's pragmatic governance, combined with a vision for long-term economic stability, set the foundation for a nation that, despite its small size, plays a significant role in the global economy today. Lee Kuan Yew passed away on March 23, 2015 at the age of 91. His death prompted an outpouring of grief, with hundreds of thousands of Singaporeans queuing for hours to pay their respects. Interestingly, even in his final days, Lee remained a symbol of resilience. Despite declining health, he continued to monitor Singapore's progress. World leaders, from U.S. President Barack Obama to Chinese President Xi Jinping, paid tribute to him, highlighting his global influence. A lesser-known fact is that Lee had requested a simple cremation with no monuments, a final gesture in line with his pragmatic leadership style.
I think Lee Kuan Yew was a great man. I had the great fortune of becoming a personal friend, and we saw each other many, many times. He stayed at my house, and I've often visited Singapore. There was never a month when we weren't talking to each other. So I will miss him, but more important, the world will miss him. Lee Kuan Yew was a very meticulous person, so when you were invited, before I came to Singapore, he'd send me the menu of the meals that he was going to offer me and give me a chance to comment that if I didn't like it, that I could change. And that's never happened to me. That's never happened to me anywhere. But I think what he said, what he seemed to be is what he was. He was committed to Singapore, and he was committed to an international world in which small countries could survive. And he went around the world preaching this and succeeding.
What do you guys think about Mr. Lee's legacy? Do you guys think he is a dictator or a nation builder, or both? Please put your comment below. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.